Today is June the 9th. What happened in the Garden of Gethsemane? Let's find out together as we study different passages in the Passion narrative. Today, as we read through the Bible in a year, I'd like you to read from all four Gospels. Matthew chapter 26, you can start in verse 36 and read to 56. Mark 14, from 32 to 52. Luke 22, from 39 to 53. And then John 18, verses 1 to 12. All of these passages talk about Jesus and the 11 in the Garden of Gethsemane. We're going to focus here on Luke chapter 22. In Luke 22, beginning in verse 39, we see that Jesus enters the Garden of Gethsemane. He asks all of his disciples to pray that they don't succumb to temptation. But then he takes Peter and James and John a little bit farther away and says, I need you guys to support me in prayer. Now, Matthew and Mark tell that 3 times Jesus prayed, 3 times he came back, and 3 times he found Peter, James, and John asleep. The content of Jesus' prayer was, Father, I know what's coming. I'd really prefer not to have to go through it, but I'll do your will, whatever you ask. At the end of this time, the soldiers come to arrest Jesus. Now it's dark in the Garden of Gethsemane. Apparently, it is not a well-lit night. The guards approach the group, and Judas tells them, look to the one that I kiss. That's Jesus. You can arrest him. Judas kisses Jesus, and Jesus says, do you betray me with a kiss? Now, the arrest follows, and apparently the soldiers who had come to arrest Jesus were not the Roman soldiers. They were the temple guards. We know that because Roman soldiers would have taken Jesus directly away to the Roman authorities. But these soldiers took Jesus straight to the Sanhedrin. We'll read about that tomorrow. The temple soldiers take Jesus away, and in the book of Luke, it says that Peter whips out a sword, probably more like a machete, fisherman's knife, longer than a standard knife, probably shorter than a falchion that the Romans would have carried. So something about an 18-inch blade, and he attacked the group that was arresting Jesus and actually cut off the ear of one of the slaves of one of the priests who had gone with the group to arrest Jesus. Jesus healed the man's ear. It's actually in the book of John that we see a little bit more of what happens. And what happens is incredibly important. They come to arrest Jesus after they identify Jesus. Jesus says, who do you want? And they say, Jesus of Nazareth. I am he. We're reading now in John 18, verse 5. I am he, Jesus said. Judas, who betrayed them, was standing with them. As Jesus said, I am he, they all drew back and fell to the ground. Once more he asked them, "Who are you looking for?" Again they replied, "Jesus of Nazareth." "I told you that I am he," Jesus said. "Since I'm the one you want, let these others go." Now, we made the point before that Jewish authorities were actually looking for 14 crosses. Jesus, the 12 disciples, and Lazarus. They were there to arrest not just Jesus, but those disciples who were still there. Judas had now betrayed him, so they wouldn't crucify him, but they wanted to crucify the other 11. Jesus asked who they wanted. They said, "Jesus of Nazareth." And Jesus responded with two simple words. In Greek, ego eimi. In Hebrew, I'm not sure what the Hebrew is, but it is the name Yahweh. I believe Jesus said his name, his real name, not Jesus, the name that he was known by when he came here to earth, but the name that he was known by all through the Old Testament. The name that stood before Pharaoh, turned the river to blood, brought frogs from the river, rained fire from heaven. I believe that Jesus showed his power, his divine power. John says they took a step back and they fell to the ground. I think they were blown over backward when he pronounced his own name. Then he said, "If you're looking for me, let these go." It is at that point that Peter takes out his knife and attacks the slave who is called Malchus here. According to the book of John, this slave has a name. Typically, that means that later he was important in the early church. He apparently became a Christian after Jesus healed his ear. But then Jesus said to Peter, "Put your sword away. This isn't the time for that." Peter put his sword away, and then he ran, together with the other 10 who were with him. They all, maybe they didn't betray Jesus, but they certainly ran away. They deserted Jesus, and Jesus was left to face the crucifixion alone. What happened in Gethsemane? Jesus protected the 11. But he did it after he went to the Father in prayer. And in that prayer, he committed himself to protecting you and I as well. What happened in Gethsemane? Quite a bit. Like, follow, and subscribe to this devotional on whatever platform you use to listen to it. Email your questions to us at questions@becomehope.com. Tomorrow, we'll look at the trial of Jesus and ask, why was Jesus crucified?